All right, we are ready to start the hearing on the limited site plan review of Phase 1B for Regis College, which is an amendment to the initial application. And we have given this about 20 minutes or so for discussion, presentation. Perhaps what we could do is, if you could, if you think it's possible, limit your presentation to about 10 minutes. That would leave us 10 minutes for board comments, our consultants' comments, and any comments from the audience. That said, I am Al Abelot. I'm the chairman of the planning board, and my other board members, all elected, are Steve Oppenheimer,
David Mickelson,
Roy Chalmers,
and Susan Price.
Okay, who's making the presentation?
I will start just quickly. I'm Tony Hayes. I'm the president of Regis College, and I want to thank you all for your incredible support to Regis as we're trying to move forward with our master plan. We're very excited about it. It will offer us an opportunity to really reinvigorate the campus, up at the core of the campus, and also really contemporize our facilities as we do so. Most importantly, while adding some new aspects to the buildings, we are actually renovating and updating most of the core campus while we're in the process of adding some space. So I'd like to really pass it off to the architects, Sasaki, who are here with us to show you some of the exciting plans. And I left you a message. I want to thank you for your facilitation of the first phase, phase A, if you will, of the parking lot and all, and supporting us in that.
Well, thanks. And two of us were on a sidewalk this morning, so we're up to speed.
Great.
Okay.
So is this okay, Joe, to have a couple things in the corner? I don't want to remind you, that's the best place for it to be. Or?
I'll shift over.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move through this relatively quickly to keep in the time frame here. Just to orient people, we were here a month or two ago. But orientation of Wellesley Street over here on the side. This is the existing conditions for the campus, the Great Lawn here, College Hall, the main academic building, sports fields over to the north here. And we're really addressing the core here and specifically addressing the building, the addition to Maria Hall that was discussed during the site walk this morning. Okay, first, President Hayes mentioned that part of the overall project is dealing with life safety issues, including upgrades to the physical plant at Regis College, including both water and electrical to address specific building issues. So Steve will talk about that briefly. We have the water distribution and the electrical distribution on these two drawings.
Thank you. So real quick, just to go over the systems, this utility system to upgrade on campus mainly consists of a water system and electrical system. So the water system here, what we're proposing to do is install a new booster pump station for both domestic and fire flows on campus to increase the water pressures available on the top of the hill here, because currently they are identified as being somewhat deficient. So we're proposing a new pump station, actually is within the power plant garage, not outside as shown in this diagram. That will feed a new water loop around the upper campus, serving potential future sprinkling of Angela Hall, Domitilla Hall, Maria Hall, which is this project, of course, the library, Alumni Hall, St. Joseph's and College are sprinklers. Also via water service to come down, potentially sprinkler Spelman, Walters, and Morrison in the future. The science building and fine arts and sports would remain currently on the existing fire pumps that they have, so fire protection of those buildings. That really is, as we said, help improve life safety on the campus. Also, the electrical system upgrades, you can see here in the, it's a little faint, but the green line shows the proposed phase 1 electrical system upgrades to improve reliability and also efficiency of the electrical system to serve some of the new development on campus. Basically what we're doing is we're upgrading the transformers to raise the line voltage to up basic standards of the electric system. That's sort of, in a nutshell, what we're planning to do with the campus utility systems. Continue on to the landscape.
Steve? So, now I'm going to zoom in to the core of the campus here. Okay, again, existing conditions over here on the left-hand side. We have the great lawn here, existing drop-off, College Hall in the front here. This is where our site walk was here today, St. Joseph's Hall, the Student Union, Maria Hall, and the library. And to revisit just briefly a little bit from Phase 1A. Phase 1A and 1B have been consolidated into one phase after discussions with the trustees and the administration at Regis. That was seen to be the least disruptive and most economical way to do the project, was when we're building this building here to be able to do the site work at the same time. A big part of that is removal of that parking in the core of campus, removal of this roadway in the core of campus, replacing that with a new quad here and with a new what we're calling College Walk here, open for fire and service vehicles, but primarily a pedestrian walking space. As part of these upgrades to the campus in general, we're also thinking very carefully about ADA accessibility, both a new ADA entrance into St. Joseph's that will tie into the existing ADA entrance into the back of College Hall, also a new ADA entrance into the library, and this building will be accessible with a new elevator as well. So 2 new landscape spaces on the north and south of the building. The last time we were here, we talked a little bit about the reconfiguration of the roadway behind the building. Currently, it ends here with the drop-off at the Student Union. That will be connected here, and the new drop-off in this residential core here. We are addressing the issues that we brought up the last time. This is, you can see on the gray line here, the existing compactor that's across the boundary on that, and the request from the Conservation Commission was to put that back on Regis's land. So this parking here is being formalized a little bit, also after discussions with the fire department to make for safer turns here and to put the compactor on Regis property here. Okay, so now we'd really like to get into some of the details about the building, the addition to Maria Hall, and Vinicius and our architecture team will address those.
Should take this site plan as the reference. The idea for the addition to Maria Hall was to do a couple of things. First of all, was to sort of piggyback on this idea of a great new green and a south green, and create an entry level for the residence hall that is really sort of a piano nobile for the residential life portion of this program, that accommodating a sort of an engagement space for the students, a couple of flexible classroom engagement spaces that can be used by the campus and by the community of the residence hall. Through this new accessible entrance, provide a new elevator that provides accessibility for the entire hall, which is not existing today. At the end of the pike here, if you will, we have a new fitness center and a yoga classroom space that promotes health as part of this whole complex. And then very important, with the elevator and new stairs here, addressing the grades here, take this existing space, which is the current lobby entry, and create a living room, dining, and laundry experience that becomes the knuckle and the place where the old and the new come together. So it's very important when we deal with residential life to make sure that when we are adding, we're bringing up the quality for the entire complex. So that was very important. So the idea of this entry pavilion, so to speak, then is that, and this is a view taken from, oopsie, sorry about that. If we're standing on the green here looking back at the addition to Maria Hall, this is the view that we will be developing. So coming in from, the main approach from the library, the new entry plaza for the library would be here. You have the main entrance to the hall over there. You have a lot of transparency here, which means that the life of the building now participates of the life of the quad. A lot of eyes on the quad and vice versa, so there is a sense of belonging and a sense of safety associated with that. Also, as you see in the upper levels, the promotion of lounge spaces at the very crown of the building here, which creates sort of an important element from a residential life perspective now in the building. The building as limestone and brick is very consistent with the palette of the campus, and then responds to the idea of the new green. Finally, these classrooms and function spaces can open up to the south, to this new lawn, which is kind of nice because some of the pedagogical and functions can expand into the landscape, which is something that the campus prizes a lot. If we go upstairs, again, using the elevator or the set of stairs, when we go upstairs, this is a typical upper floor. What we are doing here is promoting a couple of things. First, right off the elevator, we have the fully accessible unit, ADA compliant. So it's very easily accessible from the main point of arrival upstairs. We kept the length of the corridor short. We have a unit typology here that is suite style. We don't have kitchens, but we offer living rooms within the suites. And this typology is in fact a complement to the other typology here, which is a sort of a standard double wooden corridor configuration. At the second floor, we have a bridge over that living room space that connects to the existing residence hall and promotes accessibility throughout the building. We're also sprinkling the rest of Maria Hall as we do this work. So from a life safety standpoint, we're bringing that building up to standard as we're doing with ADA, which is a plus when talking to the fire marshal. And then finally, at each of the residential levels, we have a lounge, a nice lounge, which is at the corner of the building that participates of the green as well and creates a sense of community for the residents.
Don't you want to move in?
Now that it's co-ed. Good. A couple of questions. If that's the, is that
yes.
the end of the presentation? We made a couple of observations at the site today. One of them had to do with site lighting and the possibility of taking a look at some of the bigger floodlights that are lighting the parking areas and seeing if there might be some alternative to that, because they tend to really blow up in the night sky if it's misty, for example. So that was one point that was raised at the sidewalk. And then the other thing that I think we ought to at least touch on is, since the roadways on the campus are changing, how does that impact the traffic patterns on Wellesley Street, and if at all, and with the addition of the new dormitory, do you anticipate that will add vehicles to the campus? And if so, do you have a projection of how many? And so those two sort of linked questions occur to me. So.
Well, I think on the initial presentation that we made, we had the traffic consultant, we had on the master plan, we had the impact of this proposal within those counts, and I don't know if we have them or still have those two. So we did look at that, we did look at the counts. I'm not the traffic expert, but I think I recall the expert saying that there'd be no significant impact at all to Wellesley Street from what we're proposing for the master plan. With regard to the building, it's for residential students as opposed to commuters, so these 72 students aren't going to be on the roadways every day as a typical commuter student would be, so I don't think the impact there is going to be significant as well. We also talked about things that we're doing on our campus with regard to restricting the freshman residential students from bringing cars on campus, and it's sort of going to be a wash with not likely it's going to be freshman students in these buildings, but it would sort of be a wash. This year we had somewhere between 75 and 100 freshman resident students with cars on campus. So if that, we lose those 75 cars in September, and if half of these students had cars, we're still have a net reduction of the traffic.
Yeah, I vaguely remember the traffic study, but the problem was we were only focused on this parking lot next to the stamp museum.
Right. You have those. The study reflected this building being in the impact. So.
Yeah, I don't remember that there was a major impact. So.
It wasn't.
And most of the traffic continues to come into the main lower lot. That's where all the traffic, and that will not change.
Right.
So I'm trying to go through this. I'm not a traffic engineer myself, but I'll tell you what we basically found with the modeling on this. We looked at peak flows over a couple of days in each of the driveways and turning movements in each one. And what we actually also did a traffic counter over 2 days, left it out there. And this shows the volumes. What we noted here before is that the traffic volumes on Wellesley Street, which are the red and the green graphs at the bottom, actually don't necessarily align with the peak volumes going in and out of the campus, which are the purple and orange volumes. So as far as traffic volumes on Wellesley Street, they felt there was some advantage in the fact that we aren't necessarily at the same peak as the commuting traffic. Also, when it did the synchro analysis on the turning movements, term minimal delays for left turning. Really, the only delay happens when there's left turning cars, because there's no dedicated left turn lanes for these cars that are turning left into the campus. And so the potential delays of people trying to get around those cars making left turns, and determined that really those delays are currently it's level service A. The move changed the traffic patterns on campus. There could be some impacts to that, but the feeling was that really we're adding, I think it's 10 spaces to the campus, and so the overall volume shouldn't change much. There could be some minor changes to the sort of distribution between the driveways, but with the fact that the volume is still limited.
The change in the distribution that would be that maybe cars would shift up to the upper entrance as opposed to the central entrance. Or I think that was the conclusion, right?
Yeah, so this is existing conditions, of course. And currently, the bulk of the parking, as you see here, is this north lot and a bit behind the student union building. So the bulk of the traffic, I think if you look at the circulation, also the traffic volume, you see 98 cars turning in here at the morning peak versus 19 and 8 on the southern driveways. And going northbound, similarly, you see 2 cars, 57, the bulk going in the middle driveway now as I come northbound in the afternoon, 31 here on 5, 90, 68. So the bulk of the traffic is between the north and the middle driveway.
But that would shift all to the north, right? Because the middle.
It wouldn't. And there's going to be more spaces down here. We're taking out these spaces from the middle and moving 72 of them down here, so that it distributes it. We're not necessarily adding any more to the north, but actually doing adding more to the south, which currently has very little traffic.
Okay.
And the lighting, dark
Yes.
sky compliant kinds of lights.
So lighting, and just for everybody, if people weren't at the walkthrough this morning, we specifically went and looked at some of the current lighting on these parking lots at the rear of these buildings, and they tend to be lighted up with these large sort of floodlights on the top of the rear of these buildings here. And so the conversation this morning was, would we be, could we take a look at this lighting and think of the new campus lighting standard that they're looking at when we do the work on this back roadway? And I think the response from Regis was, sure, we'd absolutely like to be able to look at that and have that be considered by our lighting designer.
And I also would like to add that we know that we want to make some changes with the, now that we're putting a green quad in there instead of parking lot. That's going to change. It's aesthetically, we want to tone it down as well. But in the back of the buildings, we have to also consider safety, and we have cameras and things like that. So the lighting has to be sufficient for the cameras to do their work. So we would keep that in mind as well, but certainly keeping all of that.
The dark sky stuff doesn't necessarily mean low lighting.
Right.
Darkness. It means putting light where you want it, as opposed to all over the sky.
And all the new fixtures proposed are, almost all of them are LED, full cutoff compared to the current fixtures out there, which have these big high pressure sodium yellow light just kind of cascading on these parking.
They're good for surgery.
Yeah, they're good for surgery. I had a professor say once they're good for poultry barns too. But yeah, so
Absolutely. We're looking, over the period of the 15 years, which is the total master planning process, we're going to be upgrading the lighting throughout the whole campus.
Now, are you also planning an irrigation system for watering the grass and stuff? And if so, have you thought about a well to do that so you're not bringing lots more water into town? We try to balance our water budget with flooding and stuff like that.
Currently, the only irrigation we have is on our softball field, and there's no irrigation on that front lawn, and it's done well. We talked about irrigation up in this court area, and I'm not, I've been convinced because of its location that we don't need to add irrigation there, so there are no immediate plans to add irrigation.
That beautiful front lawn isn't irrigated. Isn't that amazing? we keep the grass a little longer,
6 inches.
you know, but it's like, you know, it's carpet, it's gorgeous.
So you look at those big box flood lamps, when and how?
The ones on the rear of the building, I think we look at that as we move forward with our lighting designer and get him to propose alternatives for those floodlights as part of the roadway work. And then I'm not sure the exact process for submitting that to the town.
Right, I mean, I think that's what I'm getting at. We're writing an order of conditions. So, you know, how do we move? You know, it's wonderful that you're going to be looking at it, but how do we, you know, we need to think about how we put that in the conditions.
It would be good to have cut sheets and stuff.
Well, yeah.
So we've submitted cut sheets for all the lighting standards, both for the post top and the replacements for the other fixtures as well. So anything, we can use that vocabulary that we've already established. It would just be adding a little bit under the scope for these other buildings, which I think is.
I think we would have to look at, we haven't looked at removing those wall packs and what impact that would have on the keeping the lots safe. We do have cameras out there, so while in concept, I think it would be, I would fully support replacing the sodium lights with LED lights and with dark star compliant lights and shields. I haven't seen anything yet that says, oh yeah, that's easy to do and it will still give us the lighting so the cameras will work and all that. But you know, I think it's reasonable that it's something that we, left to our own devices anyhow, would consider in the course of the renovations from the aesthetics, trying to do something with the lighting to remove those sodium lights.
It can't be that wonderful at night. It's
Well,
got to look like, you know.
Yeah, you know, but we have,
Like a prisoner of war camp.
it is,
Well,
but if you think about, you know, they serve a purpose, right? They're ugly, we all admit that, and they might be a little bit obnoxious, but we, you know, when we're plowing for snow, or doing snow removal in the middle of the night.
They put a lot of light out.
They put a lot of light out for students who are walking in the rain or late at night from building to building and from.
But I'm just saying, if you're really trying to bring the whole experience of Regis College up and make it a better aesthetic experience, I mean that's the goal. Isn't that the goal?
Yes.
And so these lights are inimical to that goal, it seems to me. So
Well, aesthetically, yes, of course. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. But I think that
I know this is
just stop
safety
short.
question.
Yeah, exactly.
But surely there's
I'm sure there's a way to
There's a
safely
lot of-
light
You
it
said your
with
lighting designer
LEDs.
would look at it.
Yeah,
That's right.
sure.
Yes,
I'm
right.
just
So
wondering
that's
how
a-
we get this
yeah.
into the conditions.
Yes, okay.
So would we say to the lighting designer, we'll look at that area, that, you know, sort of that back road area, and propose solutions, and then be able to.
Because we are addressing it already in the core, but it's around the backs of the buildings where it's very dark.
Right, in the quad, you're taking one of the big things off the roof, and instead you're putting lights down through the trees. So,
Right.
so it's possible.
Versus the lights that are sort of on the corners of these buildings here.
Right.
It's the woods.
The most bottom point, there's a wall pack, that's Donatello at the very bottom, so right there where his finger just was, there's a wall pack there. There's another one in that other corner of the building, and then there's one at Maria where he was just pointing. There are 3 wall packs there. We could certainly, well, I can't say we could certainly replace it because I haven't seen anything. My, professional guess is the lighting designer can come up with a reasonable scheme
I think he
to
can.
replace those. So I haven't seen it, so I can't say yes, I wouldn't want to.
And probably more efficiency as well.
I think
And so
so.
part of the upgrade is going to increase efficiencies
Right.
because I hear the tick, tick, tick of that heater going. So
Right.
as we upgrade even the fixtures, we're going to be increasing our
Well, those
efficiency.
big sodium vapor, those things are enormous. They're as big as a car.
They draw a lot.
And so
Right.
they've got
Well,
to
they're
be
not
burning a lot of
efficient.
electricity. If you go to LEDs, you get better light output, it's a lower wattage, and
That is exactly, we are doing that. We
Yeah.
just, we weren't going to do it in the first year because the focus is the core. And then as we move around the whole campus to upgrade all of the lighting, you know, it's done as part of the master plan.
But I think we can have the lighting folks look at it.
Definitely
We're
do that.
relocating a compactor, so there's power on that leftmost edge of that roadway. We might be able to put light posts there to light that area of the parking lot. Maybe we can use those to replace the wall packs.
well, let me make a suggestion. If we do an order of conditions with conditions that we review the lighting study for the back parking lot, would that be a reasonable requirement?
That's totally reasonable,
Yeah.
totally reasonable. And if you have any great ideas or studies that you, no, seriously, we
Okay.
want to be as contemporary and as cutting edge as we can as we make these renovations, because we're setting ourselves up for sustainability well into the late 21st century and beyond.
Okay, good go. Good, so that sound reasonable to everybody?
I just think this is such a huge improvement for the parking lot.
Oh, I
As the
agree.
center of
Isn't that
campus.
wonderful?
It's wonderful.
Yep. And we'll have a party and invite you all.
We saw that firsthand during the sidewalk when the traffic was going back and
Oh, yeah.
forth and the
That's
car
just
horns were going.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have this as a really.
We're very excited about it, and the students are as well, and the faculty.
Any other questions from the board on this? Okay. Then we'll put that condition in, and we'll continue this to vote on the draft conditions of approval to what date?
Well, we can have it ready in 2 weeks. Let me just look at my board, timing wise. Realistically, I mean, 9:45 is when we're approving decisions at night on the June 4th meeting.
Okay. So we'll continue this hearing to June 4th, 9:45, nominal. And no, you don't need to be, because it'll just be an amendment to the original conditions of approval. And I think we've talked about really the only amendment to our conditions. So, right?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Honestly, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
See you later.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Phase 3.
4 or 5.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, no.
Is that our
Suck it
side?
up.
Sure. Good luck getting through.
Grace, is that your?
I got it.
That's Steve's. Probably here. Sitting on your own myself.
I had to put in.
Oh, I see. Well, there's a reason.
Thank you, good night. Too much.
That is up.
Not yet. So we still have 10 minutes.
Well, we're running out of schedule. I don't